History can be kind, history can be cruel. Mikel Arteta doesn't end up winning a trophy with this team, say, in the next 2 seasons. This one with the Champions League and next season. What would history say about him? That he had these chances and couldn't deliver, or that the other teams were just stronger?
He's gone up against one of the best managers in world football.
But maybe this was the season to do it.
Yeah, but what we don't know is where Arne Slot will end up and what he will become in the game. So, yes, it's a great opportunity, but we praise Arne Slot week in, week out about how he's come in, followed in the footsteps of a huge figure, and then his performances, or the team's performances under his guidance, have been incredible. So it's very difficult. I listened to a couple of radio call-ins the other day, and a lot of Arsenal fans were calling for Arteta to be out. They're not happy. They feel like this was the year. They feel like he's wasted money on players, players who haven't performed at the highest level. But think where Arsenal were when he went in. I mean, this is the harsh reality. It's like Arsenal fans weren't happy before Arteta was in there. Then he had this period where he was trying to change things around. The board went quiet. The rumours around all the ownership disappeared because suddenly he had them back in the Champions League, competing at the highest level, trying to go for league titles, missing out by the smallest of margins. But now that's not good enough. Now it's, well, we should be winning the league. Why should you be winning the league? It's very difficult to win a Premier League. You're going up against the riches of Manchester City, but also the manager of Manchester City. You're going up against a very good Liverpool team for years gone by that were always competing as well. Liverpool fans will look back on that and say they've won 1 title within that time frame. They should have won more. Well, they shouldn't have, because they weren't good enough in those seasons. They went up against an incredible Manchester City team. That's the harsh reality of it. Now, people will argue about the money and things like that. Doesn't matter. You can't say that's by the by. That's what's happened. That's where it is. But he's done an incredible job. The big question now will be, where do they go next? How do they kick on? Who do they buy? What's the recruitment going to be in the summer? But they're still going to finish second this season, or they should finish second, which is still a great achievement, but it's just trying to tip over that line and get there. But a lot of managers do that within the game. They struggle to just get over that line and win a Premier League title.
Jirian's just been in here and said the match tomorrow is a chance for you to change the narrative of the last couple of months following the injuries. Do you feel the same way?
Well, it's a game that obviously brings a different energy. You know, it's a competition that puts everybody in their toes. We've done a lot already this season here, and now is the moment to start to make another strong steps in the direction that we want. So very excited for the game.
John from the Mirror.
Hello, Mikel. When you look at this competition this year, do you feel it's quite an open competition? How do you view it? There's quite a few teams that would class themselves as as potential winners. Do you put yourself amongst those teams?
I think in the group stage, because it was different, I could see it very open. Now I see it very close, because I just see one opponent, which is PSV and tomorrow's game, and that's it. But in the first stage, I think it's been very, very different.
And what do you think about the tennis format, if you like? Because you can map your path to the final, can't you? Do you like that? Does that scare you? Do you not get intimidated? How do you see it?
I mean, the reality is, being personally as a coach, I just look at what is ahead. And what is ahead is a team that has eliminated a team like Juventus with a history. So I know the difficulty. We played against them a lot in recent years, and we know the difficulty of the match.
Let's go to Ian from the Mail here.
Hi, Mikel. You obviously have complete confidence in your team, unless you wouldn't be sitting where you're sitting. How do you persuade your players, the players that are available to you now, that they are capable of doing the things that the group you had available to you 6 weeks ago was doing? Because you can't hide from the fact you were missing very, very big players. How do you get that belief from your mind into the mind of your players?
Well, trying to explain how we're going to do it and why we do things, and they try to deliver that in the best possible way. In the last 2 results, it's been very different in terms of performance as well. Not getting the result that we want, but certainly being better, especially in the last game, than the opposition. and the fact that we have still gears, even with the players that we have, some other gears to take the game to a different level. When it comes to that stage, it's about lifting the level and the standards. Every individual has to be at their best, and when we do that with the team that we have and the connection that we have between us, we are a really strong team.
And do you have to lift your levels as well to help a team recover from a couple of results which you can't get away from the fact they must have been utterly devastating, really, 1 point from 2 league games where you would have expected to get 6?
Yeah, but what is expected and the reality is very different many times, you know, and it's part of our job, you know. The moment that you have a result is hurting, but it has to last 24 hours because then you have to move on and you have to face the next game and the preparation, and you cannot get away from that. That's a big quality of a coach or any player at this level, because in 3 days' time you're going to have another match, and emotionally and physically you have to be ready for it.
So you over all that now, and you believe your players are over all of that?
No, we cannot change it, certainly. We have to learn from it, and we have to take that into the next game. And that's it. It's a lot of things that we have learned this season in Champions League about ourselves, but that's part of the very, very near past. Now is everything that we're doing now for the near future. That's what is going to count.
James, ESPN.
Hi, Mikel. It's a similar question, really, but it's about sort of parking the frustration of whatever frustration there is about the league form, and being able to sort of flick a switch in a different competition. I mean, what will your message be to the players about being able to do that?
Well, certainly focusing on what we've done in this competition and why we've done it. And that's the biggest reassurance, because this doesn't happen at that level of consistency for that many months. For a random reason. Is because we have it on us, you know, and there are certain things we're going to have to adapt. That's obviously unquestionable, but we can still be very efficient and a top team.
Jordan, the Sun.
Hi, Mikel. We saw Josh Kroenke at training today. Just what was it like to see him, and did you get a chance to have a good chat with him?
Yeah, because he had to go, but yes, very happy to have him around. He's around a lot of times for big moments as well. He's the one that he really wants to be with the team, and it's great to have him. So yeah, he's been around today, and hopefully in the next few days as well.
And you say about wanting to lift for players. Does a visit like that lift you as well? It gives you inspiration, seeing the man who's in charge of it all.
Regardless in what situation you are in the league, when you start to come to this stage of the Champions League, there is something else. You feel it in the atmosphere and the energy of the place. It's something else, because it's a competition you don't play weekly, and you play in a moment where you are in or you are out, and that gives you urgency, and it gets the best out of you for sure.
Do you think that's what and this team needs, is that urgency of kind of in or out?
If we need that,
yeah.
Well, just the stimulus that we have, which is great.
Okay, Simon from the Evening Standard.
Hi, Mikel. Just even with the injuries, do you feel you have the firepower to win this competition?
Again, it's a tunnel vision. It's just PSV is better, being better than them today to earn the right to win the game. That's where we are.
And just in the past few games where you've had those attacking issues, we've spoken about the sort of teams defending deep, the sort of low block. Do you think tomorrow, given PSV's style, we might see a different kind of game, and that could actually help the attack?
Yeah. Normally, they behave in a different way, but I don't know, because they've done different things, especially playing home or away, so we'll have to wait and see.
Art, The Athletic.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
At the start, you mentioned the team's learnt a lot about themselves in this Champions League. I was just wondering, what are some of those things that they have learnt in this Champions League run so far?
Especially about ourselves, that we played very differently at home and away in the last year, especially in Europe this season. We have been much more consistent, we've been much more us. We have scored a lot of goals. We have conceded almost anything. I think we conceded 3 goals and the lowest expected goals in the group phase, which is great. So that's a big platform. So we have those resources at the disposal of the team, and that's something that the team has already done. Now we have to continue to do it.
And just on Simon's point with low blocks that you face sometimes in the Premier League, I was wondering, so sometimes I think you've mentioned obviously the aims to have the ball in the opponent's half for, I guess, most of the game, but would that lead to teams then playing more on the low blocks against your team if that makes sense.
Sometimes not a choice, and as well against Forest, for example, we lost a lot of opportunities where we could have run because we didn't execute well enough, and that's moments as well when the teams are disorganized. But when we are organized as well, we have faced a lot of them. We have won, I think, every game against back five, for example, which the other day they behaved like that in a different way because the winger was dropping. We are so used to that. It's about execution after that.
Okay, Tom, Football London here.
Hi, Mikel. You had a rare weekend off this weekend. Could you just give a little insight about how you used the extra time between midweek games?
Sorry?
Could you just give a little insight about how you use that time, because you rarely have a weekend off?
Yeah.
How did you use it as effectively as you could?
Well, because of the schedule that we had, give some players, most of the players, some time off as well after the last game that we had, and then lead the preparation that we normally do. It's true that we have more time, so we focus a lot of things on us as well, and not having to do just game plans and very short training session related to what's going to happen in the game. So that was very useful.
Ed Guardian.
Hi, Mikel. You've obviously been here the last couple of seasons. How important is it for you to try and come away tomorrow with a positive result, i.e., not losing, feeling confident you can take PSV home and over to and win at home?
Yeah, well, you're playing 2 games. You certainly know that, and everything starts tomorrow. And tomorrow, the more we are us, and the more we play with the intention to dominate again, to be better than them and win it, the better the result will be, I'm sure.
Okay, gentleman here.
Yep. Hi, Dutch Television, ESPN Netherlands. I think you did analyze PSV. You saw the results the last couple of weeks. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the results vary in football. What I'm more interested is how they behave, what they play, why they do certain things, and what we expect them to do against us, and what are the weaknesses to try to beat them.
Yeah, you met each other last season as well. Is it a different situation right now, or is it a bit of the same?
Every situation is different. A year in football is
What are the difference right now?
It's a long time, and the context has changed. They have other players as well. We have other players as well. Momentums are different. We played a competition in that moment where we were already qualified. They weren't, and now it's a tie that's going to decide who is through. So it is very different.
Okay, we've got the last 2 now. Firstly, we'll go to Phil at the back there from PA.
Hi, Mikel. Just in terms of if you manage to get Arsenal through to the last day of the Champions League, given the troubles that you guys have had this year, would that rank as one of your best achievements as Arsenal manager?
The achievement is to see the team that we all want to see tomorrow being better than the opposition and winning the game, and don't take it any further than that.
Okay, and finally into Richard from the Independent.
Hi, Mikel. You talked about the defensive record in the group stages earlier. I mean, given the lack of some of your forwards at the moment, is it even more important that you do keep clean sheets now in the knockout stages?
Well, that's for sure, but for any team, I think when you look at the history of the teams that have been very successful, the defensive record is critical, and then we have shown the capacity to score a lot of goals in the competition. Obviously now the circumstances are different, but the team still has a lot of resources.
Hi Rob, yes, even the most hardcore of Arsenal fans I think would now admit that the best chance of silverware does lie in Europe. They head to the Netherlands this afternoon to face PSV, as you say, tomorrow night. They've just started their final training session here at London Colney before they fly. The goalkeepers over there just going through their paces, and the first team, the outfield players, are further over on the far pitch in front of us. And yeah, the gap now to Liverpool, 13 points in the Premier League title race. Arsenal out of the FA Cup and the League Cups, so they desperately need a European run to keep their season inflated. Regardless of the title race, a strong finish to Arsenal's campaign is so important. The concern, though, going forward for Arsenal will be the lack of a forward for Arsenal. Injuries to Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus have left them down to the bare bones up front. The goalless draw with Forest last week means Arsenal have failed to score in back-to-back games for the first time in nearly 2 years. Mikel Merino's double against Leicester already feeling an age ago for Arsenal fans. So is Arteta likely to start with Ranieri, Merino and Trossard up front again? Well, he almost has to, doesn't he? His options are so limited. On the bench we saw Nathan Butler-Oyedeji. He was on the bench against Forest. He's 22, plays mainly on the left. but also at centre forward. He scored 20 goals in 60 games for Arsenal's under-21s, and he's been on the bench for the last 7 Premier League games. But to throw him into the mix in such an important tie would be huge. So we expect Mikel Arteta to stick with those front three. Just to remind you of the injuries and how unlucky Arsenal have been in 2025, he's lost nearly all of his starting attacking options as Arteta. Saka had a hamstring injury, he had surgery in December. Arteta said he won't be back before the international break, so he'll miss both legs of this tie. April was more realistic for him. So to Martinelli, we're expecting an April return for him from his hamstring injury, and we know that Kai Havertz's season is over, as is Gabriel Jesus's. So real bare bones in terms of Arsenal's attacking options. The good news here is that, as far as we're aware, since the draw with Forest, Arsenal have had a couple of days off and they haven't picked up any new injuries that we know of. And also, Miles Lewis-Skelly will return from suspension for this game. He could come in for Ricardo Calafiori, we shall see. Despite all of these injury issues, though, Arsenal can take a lot of confidence from their Champions League campaign so far, Rob. Only Liverpool and Barcelona outperformed them in the opening stage, and it will be the 3rd consecutive season Arsenal and PSV have met in Europe. So they know each other well, and a win tomorrow night in Eindhoven would see Arteta's side win 5 straight games in a Champions League tournament, and that would be the first time they've done that since 05-06 season when they made it to the final.
Mikel Arteta believes Arsenal are more consistent in Europe this season and claims his team have enough resources to compete in the Champions League, despite their recent blip. Arsenal's Premier League form has taken a dip with back-to-back drop points against Nottingham Forest and West Ham without scoring. Liverpool now have a 13-point gap at the top of the Premier League, meaning the Champions League is now the only realistic chance of silverware for the Gunners this term. Despite injuries to Bukayo Saka, Kai Havertz and other attacking players, Arteta believes a good defensive record will be crucial for the Gunners. "We cannot change it, we have to learn from it and take that into the next game," said Arteta about the recent disappointments ahead of the Champions League last 16 trip to PSV. "There are a lot of things we have learned this season in the Champions League about ourselves. We have played very differently home and away the last year, especially in Europe. This year, we have been much more consistent. We have scored a lot of goals and not conceded almost anything. We have only conceded 3 goals and the lowest expected goals in the competition, which is great. That's a big platform. We have those resources, that's what the team has already done. Now we have to continue to do it. When you look at the teams that have been very successful, the defensive record is critical. Then we have shown the capacity to score a lot of goals in the competition. Now the team is different, but this team still has a lot of resources to do that." Asked how Arteta is looking to inspire his team to resurrect their form, Arteta added, "Try to explain what we're going to do it and how we do things. They try to deliver that in the best possible way. In the last 2 games, it's been very different for us as well. Not getting the results that we want, but being better, especially in the last games, than the opposition. And the fact we have gears, especially with the players that we have, to take the game to a different level. When it gets to this stage, it's about lifting the levels and the standards. Everyone has to be at their best, and when we do with that, with the team and the connection that we have, we are very strong. Focusing on what we've done in this competition and why we've done it." Asked if he feels his team have enough firepower to win the Champions League, Arteta said it's tunnel vision, it's just PSV and be better than them. That's where we are. The reality is we just look at what is ahead. I look at a team who eliminated a team like Juventus with their history. So I know the difficulty, we played against them a lot in recent year, and we know it's going to be a very good match.